Hello and welcome back to another Doctor Who action figure review. Today we're going to be taking a look at this, which is in fact the Second Doctor and Tardis set, which is based on the story The Abominable Snowmen. Now, this is in fact a character online exclusive. It was first introduced last year when they released the Jungles of Mechanus set, and this year we've been spoiled even further with this marvellous set. So to begin with, let's get the boring part out of the way and look at the packaging. So as ever, the figures themselves come housed in this lovely blue and white style guide that we've had before from Character Options. It does look really nice, and it has the new version of the logo on top, as well as the information at the bottom stating what story the set is from. And instead of the golden sticker that you get on the B&M exclusives, this one has been printed on, stating that this is a character online exclusive. Turning to the back, you also get promotional images of the figures themselves, as well as a bio about the story, The Abominable Snowmen, and some additional information about the figures. Opening up the box, you get this lovely backdrop of the Himalayas, aka Wales. It's a lovely rendition. I've always loved the backgrounds in these sets, especially for the TARDISes, as they're very nice if you choose to display them with your figures. As well as that, you also have some additional Easter eggs like the Yeti, as well as the Raston warrior robot. Now that might be a sign of things that are yet to come, but who knows, we can just wait and see for now. One thing I did forget to take a photo of was the fact that there's also the Detson Monastery on the other side of the box, but I didn't notice this until after I took the photos. Also, another thing to add is the fact that they've made the box slightly slanted, just to make it look like the TARDIS is standing up straight on the hill, just like it did in the show, and that is pretty much it. That's all I've got to really say on the box, but it's a very nice addition, and if you choose to keep it, then good on you. So, out of the packaging, the figure as well as the TARDIS looks absolutely amazing. These products were something that we never thought we'd ever own because of cost reasons. We didn't think that it would even be possible to own a TARDIS that looked like this within the Character Options line, but here we have it. As well as the Doctor in his fur coat. That was another thing we never thought we were going to own, as again, down to cost reasons, it would have been deemed as non-practical. But here we have them. They're absolutely fantastic. I mean, I can't describe how excited I am to actually own these and actually have them in hand. They are absolutely phenomenal. These arrived actually rather quickly. I ended up ordering them on the Tuesday when they were announced, and they actually turned up on the Thursday afternoon. So it turned up in very, very speedy time. So firstly, taking a look at the Second Doctor, this was a figure that everyone was waiting for a very long time. It was originally shown as a prototype from the 5 Doctors, and it was rumoured to be released in the second 11 Doctor set many years ago. Unfortunately, it never happened, and we never actually saw it. It was just either deemed too expensive or whatever, and it never happened. But finally, in hand, this is such a fantastic figure to own. I mean, even though it's completely different from what we saw in the prototype images years ago, even though it's a lot different from what we saw in those prototypes many moons ago, I'm glad we've actually got one. But not only that, it's actually from his tenure instead of just a guest appearance. From what I can tell, the coat itself isn't actually that different from what we saw on the prototype. The only difference here is, unfortunately, the rope hasn't been painted on, as it's probably a cost issue. But apart from that, it still looks really good. So the figure itself is exactly the same, but the only difference here is the fact that the fur coat on the top, which is a PVC piece, as well as new arms for the figure. Apart from that, the figure itself is exactly the same. The head sculpt is absolutely amazing on this figure. The paint apps are very nice and crisp, especially around the eyes and on the mouth. And you've got all those distinctive details that makes it look like Patrick Troughton. I know a few people aren't so happy with this head sculpt, but I quite like it personally. The hair itself has been painted in a matte black with some lighter features on top just to really distinguish the figure and actually make those details pop out on his head. Moving down to the shirt, you have the same basic blue shirt with the almost black bow tie, but it is in fact a very dark blue with the polka dots on there. And of course, you have the fur coat. This has been sculpted very, very well. It's very nice and detailed. You can see all the fur draping off the coat. And like I said, you've also got the drawstring or whatever it is to hold the coat together. And like I said, unfortunately, it hasn't been painted here. It would have been nice if they did, because it would draw it out more, because from a distance you can't really tell that it's there. But overall, I think the coat itself is very nice, and the paint apps on it are superb as well. It's been painted in a very nice tan colour with darker bits of brown on top, and this is what the jacket itself actually looks like from behind the scenes photos, as well as behind the scenes footage that was seen on location, and it actually shows what actual colour the coat itself was. And it looks about right. It actually does look like the coat that was seen in the show. Like I said, this is a beautiful rendition of the Second Doctor from that story, and we are very blessed that we've got colour photos to prove what colour the jacket was, and it does do it justice here. And then moving down to the trousers, you have the same checked style pattern that we had on previous figures, but this time around the grey is slightly darker than we've had before, and it does look a lot nicer here. It has been cast in a grey plastic with the checks put on top, but it does work well. And then moving down to the shoes, they've been painted in a very nice light brown with the soles painted tanned. Now on location, Patrick Troughton actually wore boots in this story. I think it was mostly for the location scenes. I don't know if he wore his suede shoes within the studio footage, but this is what we've had here. And again, it's a nice attention to detail. So for articulation, the Second Doctor has articulation in the head that can move side to side. Arms can do a full 360 turn. Now the biceps can sort of move, but it's very, very hard to do because the jacket itself is a hard PVC piece. You can get movement in the hands very easily, actually, so that is quite weird considering on most Second Doctor figures that I own, they're very stiff. But he also has elbow joints, which is really nice, and he also has waist articulation. Again, very hard to do with this figure. I don't know if mine is very stiff, but I don't really want to force it. The legs can also do a full 360, and he can also bend at the knee, but again, it is hindered by the jacket, so it doesn't really bother me too much, considering this is a very nice figure to have. So that's pretty much it for the Second Doctor. The articulation is a bit hindered, but saying that, it doesn't really bother me too much, as it doesn't really get much play value out of me, as I'm a sado. They pretty much sit on display most of the time. But as it goes, I think this is a fantastic figure. We've been waiting for this for years. It was something that we didn't think was going to happen. And, it's such an iconic look for him. And he didn't just wear it in this story. He wore it throughout the Ice Warriors and the Five Doctors. It's just become a staple to the Second Doctor's look, especially on those snowy locations. And of course, the big main attraction for this set is in fact the TARDIS. Not only is it a design that we'd never thought we'd be able to see due to the nature of the design of it, as well as it having electronics, something we've not had in about 10 years. It is in fact an early rendition of the Second Doctor's TARDIS. Now, as I said, with this design, I didn't think it would be something we would ever see anytime soon, due to the fact of cost reasons and the nature of the doors being the way they are. I didn't think it was going to be something that would ever happen anytime soon, or even forever. Let's face it, I mean, the costs alone to change the doors would have been horrendous, and it wouldn't be something we would actually see in a B&M store. However, they've done it. It's actually something that exists now, and I think it is amazing. Now, there is the elephant in the room, and you may spot it instantly. It is in fact that the door sign is on the wrong side. Now, this is in fact correct, as the prop itself was indeed like this in the Abominable Snowmen. Now, this was in fact a prop error that happened way back at the end of Season 4 in Evil of the Daleks, and it lasted right up until The Wheel in Space. And I'm so pleased that we did get this, as this is something they didn't really have to bother with, but it is such an attention to detail that they have, and it looks fantastic. And that is not the only detail that has changed here. As well as that, we've had a new lock placement put on the door, and you will also realise that there's no handles on here, just like the prop in the show. So who knows, maybe we'll get new door placements on future TARDIS releases in years to come. I mean, there's rumours going around there's going to be a new First Doctor TARDIS, so who knows, maybe we'll see new doors on a future TARDIS release. The new portal open sign itself is very, very nice indeed. You have a lot of detail going on the actual signage itself, as well as the outer panel that features on the door. There seems to be like a little chunk missing. I don't know if that was supposed to be a sort of hinge for the actual prop, or whether the wood itself had deteriorated and fallen off over time. The sign itself, again, like I said, very nice indeed. It's very detailed, and supposedly, from what I can tell on photos of the actual prop, it is exactly the same. And the weathering itself, absolutely superb. It looks really, really nice. I mean, in general, the whole box itself is very, very lovely. I mean, it's a far superior version from the B&M release we got last year of the Second Doctor's TARDIS, but this one itself is a lot better. From what I can tell, it's either been painted or cast in this blue plastic, and it has this very nice weathering effect over the top, just like the actual prop did. It was rather beaten and pushed around at this point, so it did look very weathered at this certain time in the show's history, so it is understandable that it's on this toy. So the weathering itself does do some good, as it does bring out the wood texturing effect. It does make it look slightly glossy, but not as bad on previous releases, and it does show off like some of the Artex that they've tried to replicate on the actual prop. It just looks battered, just like the prop did. And with all the other little renditions on this TARDIS, you also have the small Yale lock that's been painted in gold. And I really like the top signs here. Now, they do look rather extended on this, but they're in fact the exact same size as every other TARDIS toy that's come out, I believe. I mean, I can't tell if they have extended them. I don't think they have, but the way the signs look are superb. They're all battered and faded and a bit tatty at this time. I mean, I can't think of any other words. I mean, it's just such a cool toy. It is literally riddled with wear and tear, and it looks amazing. And then taking a look at the roof, you have that new lamp fixture that was used on the War Games TARDIS last year, and I do believe really that they should have really gave the lamp a bit of a wash, just like how it was in the show, and it looked in some photos very blue. I don't know if they actually painted the lamp itself or it was just the way the photos made it look, but I think it would have been nice if they added some weathering to it just to hide the fact that you can see the LED. It's only a small nitpick, but at the same time, it would have helped, but you can do it yourself. But on the plus side, this is the first electronic TARDIS that we've had since 2010 or 11, and that's when they introduced the first 3 classic TARDISes, and then we didn't hear anything for years. So on the plus side, it's still a very good rendition, and I can't believe we've actually got one. And at the same time, I'm very amazed that we actually got this in the first place, especially with sound. I mean, come on, it's an electronic TARDIS. I mean, what's not to like about it? So with all that out the way, let's go and take a look at the features. So just like every other TARDIS toy, the door mechanism is exactly the same on this one. So you can open up the left door first, and then the right door. As usual, this isn't on a spring, it's very loose. And then to close it again, you just pull that forward, and then there's a little spring-loaded button to close the other door. And as I've mentioned, this TARDIS is electronic, and the way to turn it on is that they've got a switch on the bottom of the TARDIS and a little spring button underneath to activate the lights and sounds. And then when you pull it, it makes all the warpy when you put it down, and then when you pick it up, it makes the dematerialization sound. Now, overall, I know on camera it doesn't look that bright, but trust me, in hand, it looks 100 times better. Especially in a darker room, it does flash a lot brighter, and it's a very smooth transition as well. On camera, it looks a bit different, but I think that's just due to the frame rate. But at the same time, The light is perfect on this toy. So my overall thoughts on this set is absolutely fantastic. It's something that I never thought would ever happen due to the nature of the doors and the nature of the tooling on the Second Doctor's jacket. I didn't think it would ever be possible to see. And yet again, here we have it. It's such a unique piece to have if you're a Doctor Who fan or a collector of anything, and I would certainly say this is a must. Now, unfortunately, they are out of stock on the character options site, so your best bet is probably trying eBay, even though the prices may be a bit more steep than what it was originally on the character options site. But if you are into collecting things like this is a must buy. Not only have we got a figure that we never thought we would own, we have also got a TARDIS that we never thought we'd own, and it's such a unique piece. Not only is it unique, it's also electronic, and I think it's fantastic. And yeah, so that is pretty much it for all I've got to say with this piece. And yeah, stay tuned for more reviews. Hopefully the B&M stuff will be coming out soon from what I've seen online. And yeah, stay tuned for that.